They say you can measure a man by the weight of the silence when he leaves the room. Mine was thunderous. No applause, no farewell speech, not even a handshake from the people I'd mentored for over 3 decades. Just quiet stares and a few stiff nods as I walked out carrying a cardboard box that held the fragments of 31 years of service. If anyone had anything to say, they swallowed it. I guess speaking up is too disruptive these days. My name's Michael Reeds. I'm 61 years old, and until this morning, I was the Chief Operating Officer at Gravison Technologies. 31 years ago, I walked into this building as a junior systems engineer straight out of state college, nervous and eager. Today I walked out a relic, according to the man who now runs the place. Kenton Voss, the newly minted CEO, had a face like marble and a vocabulary lifted straight from the TED Talk playbook. He summoned me into his glass office at 9 a.m. Sharp. The place still smelled like new leather and ambition. He sat there with his legs crossed, sleeves rolled just enough to show off his $20,000 watch. I didn't even sit. "Michael," he began, using the tone someone reserves for telling their dog to go lie down. "This isn't about what you've done. It's about what the company needs to become." I didn't reply. I've learned that silence has a way of unbalancing people like Kenton. He cleared his throat and continued. Gravison is pivoting to a future-forward innovation model. We need a leadership team that embodies disruption, agility, influence. Still nothing from me. I knew what was coming. He leaned forward, elbows on his pristine desk, like we were old friends sharing a moment. "You lack the disruptive mindset, Michael. It's time to transition into early retirement." Early retirement. That's how they dress it up. Like it's a gift. Like they're sparing you the indignity of being dragged out. I nodded once. "Understood." "Of course," Kenton said, as if I'd just agreed to upgrade my cable package. "We'll ensure a smooth offboarding." And just like that, it was done. Then he gestured toward the figure leaning casually in the doorway. "This is Jackson Dale. He'll be stepping into a reimagined version of your role." I turned and saw him, 20-something, tanned, hair perfectly tousled like he just walked off a commercial shoot. He wore a hoodie under a blazer, sneakers that probably cost more than my mortgage payment, and a smug little smirk that told me he thought the world owed him applause just for showing up. "Big shoes to fill, sir," he said, offering a limp handshake that I didn't bother to return. I looked him up and down. "You've got no idea," I said, and walked out. It took me all of 10 minutes to clean out my office. A photo of my wife and I on our trip to Tokyo. My leather notebook, worn to softness, full of project notes no one ever asked for. A desk clock given to me when I hit my 20-year mark, engraved with the wrong date. No one ever noticed. As I stepped into the hallway with the box in my arms, I saw them. Faces I'd known for decades. People I'd stayed late to help, covered for when their kids were sick, vouched for in promotions. They all watched me now, standing by their desks, silent. Some offered weak smiles, others avoided eye contact entirely. I gave them what they didn't give me, a nod of respect. The elevator ride down felt longer than it should have. I caught my reflection in the chrome doors, creased brow, silver at the temples, but still steady, still sharp. They'd written me off as obsolete, but I didn't feel obsolete. I felt insulted. Outside, the air had that crisp clarity of a morning that should have held promise. The sun was out, traffic buzzed, and the city moved on like it hadn't just spit me out. I stood there for a second, looking back at the glass tower of Gravison Technologies. They want disruption? I built the systems that hold that company together. My team engineered the logistics backbone they still depend on. I knew where the gaps were, the shortcuts they'd taken, the innovations I proposed and they shelved, the clients they assumed would never leave. They gave the steering wheel to a kid who thinks algorithms are strategy and hashtags are direction. Let them run it. Let them stumble over every buzzword. Let them build their empire on smoke and spin. I turned away from the building, box in hand, and started walking. Not fast, not slow, just steady. My head high. No need to slam the door. Foundations crack loud enough on their own. And when they do, I'll be listening. 6 weeks into retirement, and I still wake up at 5:30 a.m. out of habit. No alarm, no reason. I just lie there staring at the ceiling, listening for emails that won't come. My wife tells me to enjoy it, take a break. But breaks are for people who feel tired. I feel displaced. I try to relax. I read the paper in full for the first time in years. I plant tomatoes. I reorganize the garage. I even take a crack at sourdough, like every other aimless retiree with a chip on their shoulder and too much time. But none of it sticks. I miss the rhythm of being needed, the pressure, the messy, beautiful machinery of purpose. Every morning after breakfast, I drift into my home office. It's smaller than the one at Gravison, but it smells better. Wood polish, old books, a faint trace of my wife's gardenia perfume from when she waters the plant near the window. My desk sits untouched, but my laptop is always open. I can't help it. I check Gravison's press releases, their LinkedIn, their stock. It doesn't take long to notice the cracks. The first headline comes from a niche tech blog. Gravison's mug of the future leaks, literally and figuratively. Apparently, Jacksondale's big debut was an AI-integrated coffee mug that tracks caffeine intake and syncs with your wearable devices to optimize brain performance. Sounds flashy, except the prototype short-circuited mid-demo and sprayed lukewarm espresso across the stage. There's a video clip. It's gone viral. He's trending for the wrong reasons. Another article follows. #Vision, zero execution. It's a brutal takedown of Gravison's sudden pivot towards social tech gimmicks. The author calls the new leadership all buzz, no backbone. I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy it. Not in a cruel way, just with the quiet satisfaction of knowing I wasn't crazy all those years. The systems I built worked. They weren't flashy, but they kept factories running and distribution lines humming. We didn't need our products to post selfies. Still, I watch with restraint. Schadenfreude is a sugar high, and I'm too old for empty calories. It's a Tuesday afternoon when I bump into Tariq at a cafe downtown. He was one of our senior product managers, left a year before I did. Sharp guy, thoughtful. He always saw around corners. "Michael," he says, doing a double take. "Didn't expect to see you off campus." "Didn't expect to be off it," I reply. We shake hands. He gestures to the open seat across from him. "Got a minute?" We talk. Turns out he's now with a mid-sized VC firm, mostly in industrial innovation and logistics tech. I laugh at the coincidence. "They pushed you out for being old guard," he says. "Now they're chasing their tails with futuristic paperweights." I raise an eyebrow. "You saw the mug." "Saw it. Our whole office watched it on loop. There's already a remix with clown horns." I chuckle, then fall quiet. Tariq leans in. "You ever think of building something of your own?" I shake my head instinctively, but not because the thought hasn't crossed my mind. It has, late at night, in the silence. I tell him the usual. I'm too old, too used to teams and structure. He waves it off. "That's nonsense. You know the back end of industrial infrastructure better than anyone in this city. You've got decades of system knowledge, ideas, reputation. If you ever launch something, call me first." It sounds like a line, but he means it. That night, I dig into the back of my filing cabinet. There's a brown leather binder I haven't touched in years. It's full of schematics, diagrams, and scrawled notes. Projects we shelved because they weren't flashy enough for Kenton's vision. Scalable maintenance analytics, modular firmware updates for legacy hardware, small ideas, steady ideas, the kind that companies don't notice until something breaks. I flip through the pages like I'm reading an old diary. Some of these sketches are a decade old, but they still hum with potential. Not because they're flashy, but because they solve problems. I clear off my desk, push the sourdough recipe aside, fire up a clean spreadsheet. The gears begin to turn. I don't know exactly what I'm building yet, but for the first time since they handed me that cardboard box, I don't feel displaced. I feel like rust, scraping itself off in slow defiance. Like an old machine waking up again, not because someone told it to, but because the world got sloppy without it. Let them chase trends. Let them sink under the weight of their own noise. I'm not trying to disrupt anything. I'm here to outlast it. The office isn't much, just a second-floor walk-up in a shared co-working space that smells like cold brew and ambition. But when I turn the key and step inside, it feels like ignition. A row of old desks, some leftover whiteboards, a coffee machine someone donated from home. It's not Gravison's marble lobby or corner suites, but there's no CEO with buzzwords here, just ideas, just work. Sanjay shows up first, carrying his laptop and that same beat-up backpack he used to bring to product meetings. He was one of the few engineers at Gravison who understood what I was trying to build, back when infrastructure automation wasn't sexy enough for Kenton. When I reached out, he didn't hesitate. "Didn't even finish reading your message," he said. "Just tell me where to show up." Delia came next. She'd been my sharpest systems integrator, quiet, methodical, and always 2 steps ahead of whatever broke. She left Gravison 6 months before me, after clashing with Jackson over some Instagram-branded workflow campaign. When I called, she just laughed. "So you finally got fed up too?" "Something like that," I said. We took over 2 rooms in the back of the space. No private offices, no cubicles, just tables, wires, and coffee cups. Tarek's investment came through quickly. He believed in what we were building before I even had a name for it. "Iron layer," Delia suggested one night while we were sketching on the whiteboard. "Strong, modular, industrial, but it sounds like software too." It stuck. Iron layer. Simple, solid, honest. What we were building wasn't glamorous. It wasn't supposed to be. It was practical. An automation platform for legacy industrial systems, one that could plug into old networks and breathe new life into them. Maintenance prediction, failure analysis, optimization, all through modular AI extensions and a user interface that didn't look like it was made by a committee in 2003. At Gravison, this idea sat on a shelf for years. Kenton said it lacked market dazzle. It didn't trend. But the first time we demoed it with real-world data from a former client's warehouse system, Sanjay turned to me with wide eyes. "It works," he said. "It actually works better than it did in theory." We all stared at the screen. Real-time predictions. No crash, no flashy gimmicks, just performance. We kept building. The team grew fast. Tariq sent over 2 interns from a startup accelerator, both barely out of college, sharp as hell, and fluent in code and culture. I'll admit, I was skeptical at first. One of them, May, asked if we had a Discord server on day 1. I thought she meant a video game, but I listened. I asked questions. I learned. They showed me how to share quick updates on TikTok, not to chase virality, but to articulate function with clarity. "You don't need millions of views," May said. "You need 10 right people to see the right 10 seconds." They taught me how younger engineers think, what they value, how they learn. And I taught them the other stuff, the hard stuff, legacy protocols, firmware timing, systems that can't afford to fail just because a server hiccups. We didn't dress alike, didn't think alike, didn't even drink the same coffee. But we worked. God, we worked. At night, when the lights dimmed and the city hummed outside, I'd sit by the window and sketch new modules. I felt like myself again. Like the man I used to be before quarterly reports dulled the edges. Then the email came. Futurefront Innovation Summit. An open call for startups pushing the edge of industry tech. Sanjay dropped his pen when he read it aloud. "Isn't that the conference where his coffee mug exploded?" "Yeah." "Poetic," Delia said. We looked at each other. "Iron Layer should be on that stage," I said. Delia nodded. "We're ready." That night, I stayed late after everyone had gone. The office was quiet, save for the hum of the mini fridge and the occasional groan of pipes. I walked past each desk, past whiteboards scrawled with ideas we used to think were too practical to matter. I thought about Kenton, about Jackson, about all the words they threw at me, obsolete, rigid, uninspired. But they forgot something. Old dogs don't forget the terrain. We just learn how to hunt different. The lights at Futurefront were too bright, the music too loud, and every display screen pulsed like it was trying to hypnotize a crowd into investing. Flashy logos, neon-lit slogans, coffee bars and massage chairs at some of the booths. One startup even had a guy in a spacesuit dancing to synthwave. And then there was us. Iron Layer's booth sat near the back, wedged between a cryptocurrency tax automation kiosk and a startup promising quantum-enabled dog collars. We had no gimmicks, just a single monitor, 2 laptops, and a small industrial-grade test rig Sanjay and Delia had assembled the night before using spare motors and a retired PLC. But within the first hour, people stopped walking past. They started leaning in. "Wait, this is reading and predicting real mechanical fatigue?" one investor asked. "In real time," Delia replied. "Plug it into a 50-year-old system, and we'll tell you what's about to fail before it does." Another visitor hovered. This works on legacy code? Layered over it, I said. No need to rip out your infrastructure. We just make it smarter. By noon, we had a ring of curious attendees. By 2, we had a crowd. It wasn't the branding, it wasn't the pitch. It was the fact that IronLayer did what it said it did, quietly, reliably, and without asking the user to pretend their factory was a TikTok account. Then came the keynote. The crowd moved to the main auditorium, flashing lights, pulsing music, fog machines. It felt like a concert. The host introduced Jackson Dale like he was royalty. Visionary, disruptor, Chief Innovation Officer at Gravison Technologies. He strode out like he'd just invented fire, wearing an all-black outfit with a headset mic and teeth too white to be real. Welcome to the future, he began, where machines aren't just smart, they're socially aware. The slides behind him blinked through buzzwords: symbiotic interfaces, human-AI emotion sync, ambient productivity fields. I sat near the back, arms crossed. He clicked to a slide showing a sleek dashboard that looked suspiciously similar to our demo screen, only shinier and less functional. Our new product, he said, integrates sensory feedback from industrial operators into a wellness-optimized workflow that predicts fatigue and mechanical stress. I heard a scoff. Then someone, somewhere in the dark, called out loud enough for all to hear. Didn't IronLayer build that better already? The room froze. Jackson blinked. Excuse me? More murmurs. People craned their necks. I didn't say a word. Didn't need to. He stumbled through the rest of his presentation, sweat starting to bead at his temple despite the stage lights. When the clapping finally came, it was polite at best. Then it was our turn. No lights, no intro music. Just me, walking up in a navy button-down and jeans, carrying a clicker and a quiet confidence that didn't need smoke machines. Good afternoon, I said. My name is Michael Reeds. I'm the founder of IronLayer. I clicked once. A simple graph appeared, real data from our test rig, showing a 12-month prediction curve that had already prevented 2 simulated failures. No buzzwords today, I said, just results. I walked them through a case study, a packaging facility in Newark that had cut downtime by 38% using our platform. I showed them a maintenance dashboard that didn't look like a video game, just a clean interface designed for the people actually turning the wrenches. We're not here to change the world, I said. We're here to make the parts that run it last longer. When I finished, the applause came slowly, then grew. A standing ovation. No fog, no hashtags, just hands. As I stepped off stage, 3 investors approached me before I even made it to the aisle. Do you have room for a Series A? We want in before this explodes. I've got 2 clients who need this yesterday. I shook their hands, gave them Delia's card, and kept moving. Near the hallway, just outside the auditorium, I spotted him. Kenton Voss. Still tall, still polished, but for the first time in years, he looked unsure. He approached slowly, as if debating whether to say anything. When did you start this? He asked. I looked him in the eye. About 6 weeks ago. He raised an eyebrow. But it's been in my head, I said, for years. He gave a tight, humorless smile and said nothing more. I walked past him without looking back. Let him keep his buzzwords. I had something better. Proof. The sun hits the glass just right in the mornings here. My new office faces the river, and when the light comes through, it makes the water look like it's quietly breathing. No city noise up this high, just the hum of work happening below. A quiet rhythm, focused, purposeful. I sip my coffee and watch the ferries cut soft lines across the current. No talking mug, no biometric sensors, no Bluetooth-enabled reminders to hydrate. Just heat and ceramic. It's how coffee should be. Simple, reliable, honest. It's been 4 months since the Futurefront Summit. 2 since IronLayer signed contracts with Devon Systems and Hartmore Logistics. 2 of Gravison's longest-standing clients. When the second deal went public, Gravison's stock dipped. When the expose hit 2 days later, it crashed. The headline still sits bookmarked in my browser, though I don't need to read it again. When legacy knows better, the quiet genius behind IronLayer's rise. It wasn't sensational. It didn't have to be. It told the truth about the old COO who was told he was obsolete, about the engineers who followed him, about the forgotten sketches that became the backbone of a new industry standard. Gravison tried to recover, They issued a statement, blamed transitional misalignment and branding overextension. Jackson Dale posted a video with a black and white filter, talking about learning through failure and finding new frontiers of resilience. No one cared. Clients care about uptime, not hashtags. We didn't dance on their downfall. We were too busy building. Iron Layer doubled in size. May now leads a small UX team. Sanjay runs engineering. Delia oversees deployments. I moved into this office reluctantly. Everyone insisted I have one, even though I still prefer the floor, walking desk to desk, checking the boards, asking questions. There's no corner office here, just a long bank of windows, a worn-in chair, a sketch pad, and a framed note someone left on my desk a few weeks ago. It came through LinkedIn. The sender didn't sign their name, just a title I remembered from my final walk through Gravison's halls. I was one of the people who watched you leave that day and said nothing. I've regretted it ever since. Just wanted you to know. You inspired more people than you knew. I printed it out and framed it, not out of pride, but because it reminds me of the silence I walked through and the echo it left behind. People ask me now to do interviews, podcasts, keynotes. One outlet wanted to do a redemption feature. Their words, not mine. I turned them all down. Not because I'm bitter, I'm not. Because I don't need the noise. Let the work speak. I walk through the office every day, same time. I watch the way people move, focused, relaxed, alive. There's no fear here, no games, just people building something they believe in. Sometimes I stop at a desk and ask what someone's working on. I'm never checking up. I'm just curious. They always show me. They're proud. That's how I know we're doing it right. Tariq visited last week. He stood at the window and said, "This place has a heartbeat." He's right. There's no scoreboard in here. No one's trying to outshine the next. We win or lose as a unit. I built this place on purpose. No layers of approval to slow down a good idea. No fake titles to make someone feel important. We don't even use buzzwords. I banned them. At the end of every Friday, we have quiet hour. No meetings, no messages, just space to think. Sometimes I'll see a team just standing at a whiteboard, sketching with real markers. It feels old school. It feels right. I still sketch too. Not because I have to, because I want to. The other day, one of the interns asked me, "What's the long game here? IPO, acquisition?" I told him, "The long game is making things that matter." He smiled. "That's not what they taught us in business school." Then maybe they taught it wrong. Outside the window, the ferry pulls into dock. Another Monday, another batch of problems worth solving. I take another sip of coffee, still hot, still real. No sensors, no self-awareness, no social campaign. Just a mug that does what it's supposed to do. Kinda like me.